My name is Dr. Vijay Murthy, Professor, Department of ECE. I am going to explain Module 1. The module name is Attacks on Computers and Computer Security. In this module, I am going to explain need for security, security approaches, principles of security, and types of attacks. So why is security is required? And nowadays, business and all the type of transactions are being conducted through the internet. Like no, nowadays all are in digital transactions. If you go to any, if you want any purchase anything that you have to in the transactions is more on digital only. That is, we are going to pay on through debit card or credit card or Google Pay, and all the banking transactions are happen through the digital only through online or by using the credit card or debit card. So all the transactions are conducted through internet. Suppose if you are not giving any security for this internet, then there will be a hacker will be hacking the and they'll be stealing the information like all the login credentials or user ID and password and debit card details or credit card details. And also nowadays we are sending all the messages and the documents through the internet only. That's why you need a security for transmitting or and also transactions. For a, Therefore, various areas in security begin to gain the prominence. For example, for basic security mechanism, you have to give individually user ID and password. And also whatever sending the message should not visible to anyone. Therefore, I have to encode the message and you have to send to destination. When you encode the messages, it is not visible to user who do not have the right permission. All the organizations have own mechanism to give the security for transactions. In this diagram, there is information is traveling from a client to server over the internet. You can observe in the diagram there will be a client, that is a customer, and is using a server, and the data server database will be stored in the server database. This is an example of information traveling from a client to server over the internet. Suppose if you want any purchase from any one mall or in a shop, then we have to provide a customer ID, order ID, item ID, and also you have to enter the credit card number, okay, and who has issued and what is the validity that you have to provide. Once you provide, that will be that data will be stored in the server database. They are given some example. The Russian attacker actually managed to introduce into a merchant internet site and obtain 3,000 credit card numbers from its database. Because no, here when you go to the purchase in any mall or any other shops or vegetables or groceries, nowadays we're used to give using the credit card or debit card. When using the debit card or credit card, all the informations will be stored in the server database. That means, suppose if you go to the mall, what we are using the credit card details or debit card details, that all will be stored in the mall server database, and internally all that database again is served to separate one more server database. Suppose the hacker or intruder hack that server and is collect all the information, that is all the credit card information, then he can demand the merchant to pay the money. Suppose if he's refused to pay the money, then he'll be releasing all the personal information, that is a card number details. He can leak the public. Suppose you can assume that if the merchant is refused to oblige, then attacker will publish all the credit card numbers to the internet. When I do like this, then the bank has to reissue all the credit cost. For example, if you issue the cost for credit card is $20, okay, then 20 into 3000 credit card, that much of amount I have to spend. This is the one example he has given in the previous slide. That is the cost of attack now will be $20 per card into 3 lakhs customer, that is $6 million it will be wasted. That is the great loss in both in terms of finance and also goodwill. So another example in the 1999. So this hacker broke into Microsoft Hotmail website and created a mirror site. This allowed anyone to enter any Hotmail user's email ID and read their emails. In the 2005 the survey, losses that occurred due to successful attacks on security will be 455 lakhs 848,000. Then we'll go to study this modern nature of attacks. In the modern nature of attacks, they'll go to study attacks like automatic attacks and privacy concerns. In the automatic attacks, there will be two types. One is called as a traditional attack, other one is called as a modern attack. So, what is meant by traditional attack? Traditional attack is nothing but produce the duplicate coins using the machinery and then bring them into circulation. For example, you can make a duplicate currency, that is a fake currency, and it can circulate into market. Modern attack, instead of using the traditional attack, the attacker can write a program that can be installed in a bank account, because bank it contains millions of account, and you write a program in such a that it will be detecting from 1 rupee from each account. Because of this, more number of account holders in the bank, it is automatically detecting from each account 1 rupee, that the account holders will not notice, but attacker will get the use amount. That attack we can call as a modern attack. Another attack we can call as a privacy concern. In this privacy concern, every company are collecting and processing lots of information about us without we realizing when and how it is going to be used. So collecting the information about people and later using it is turning out to be a huge problem these days. The so-called data mining applications gather, process, and tabulate all sorts of details about individuals. Then people can then illegally sell this information. For example, companies like a European, TransUnion, and Equifax maintain credit history of individuals in the USA. Similar trends are seen in the rest of the world. So distance does not matter. That means hacker at sitting at anywhere and he can hack the system through the internet. That's why distance does not matter. For example, in the year 1995, a Russian hacker broke into Citibank's computer remotely, stealing $12 million. Although we can trace the attacker, but it is very difficult to get extradited in for the court case. So this is the picture showing that first picture it shows the traditional method printing a duplicate currency notes, that is a fake notes, and circulate them in the market. Second one, instead of doing this traditional attack, they'll write a program in such a way that can detect it a 1 rupee from each account. This figure really explains the attacks can now be launched from a distance. That means he can sitting at the anywhere, he can attack the server and he can gain all the information. Security approaches. In the security approaches, first you have to study trusted system. So what is meant by trusted systems? Trusted system is a computer system that can be trusted to a specified extent to enforce a specified security policy. Trusted systems were initially of primary interest to the military. The concept has spanned across various areas, most prominently in the banking and financial community. Trusted systems often use the term reference monitor. The following are the expectations from the reference monitor. The first one is it should be tamper proof, it should always be invoked, and it should be small enough so that it can tested independently. Second one it is called as a security models. An organization can take several approaches to implement its security model. First one is called no security. This is the simplest case. In this approach could be a decision to implement no security at all. So there is a no security, then anyone can attack. Second one it is called security through obscurity. So in this model, a system is secured simply because nobody knows about its existence and contents. And this approach cannot work for too long as there are many ways an attacker can come to know about this. Third one it is called as a host security. So in this scheme, the security for each host is enforced individually. This is a very safe approach, but the trouble is that it cannot scale well. The complexity and diversity of modern sites organization makes the task even very harder. The last one it is called network security. Host security is tough to achieve as organizations grow and become more diverse. In this technique, the focus is to control network access to various hosts and their services rather than individual host security. This is a very efficient and scalable model. Next is security management practices. If you give the very good security, then it will be top of the security policy. Affordability. What is meant by affordability? That is how much money and effort does this security implementation cost? That means cost and effort in security implementation. Functionality. Mechanism of providing security. What is the mechanism were used to provide the security? Cultural issues. Whether the policy gets well with people's expectations, working style, and also beliefs. Legality, whether the policy meets the legal requirements. So once a security policy is in a place, the following person should be ensured. The first one is explanation of the policy to all concerned, outline everybody's responsibilities, use simple language in all communications, establishment of accountability, provision for exceptions and periodic reviews. Next, I will study principle and goals of security. There will be four chief principles of security. The first one is called confidentiality. Next is authentication, integrity, and non-repudiation. What is the meant by confidentiality? Let us assume that person A wants to send a check worth $100 to another person B. So what are the factors that A and B will think of in such a case? So A will write the check for $100, put it inside an envelope and send it to B. Then A will like to ensure that no one except B gets the envelope, and even if someone else gets it, she does not come to know about the details of the check. This is the principle of confidentiality. So what is meant by authentication? For example, B would like to be assured that the check has indeed come from A and not from someone else posing as a A. This is the principle of authentication. Then what is meant by integrity? A and B will further like to make sure that no one can tamper with the contents of the check. That is amount, date, signature, name of the payee, etc. And this is called as a principle of integrity. What is meant by non-repudiation? What will happen tomorrow if B deposits a check in her account? The money is transferred from A's account to B's account, and then A refuses having written or sent a check. Then the court of law will use A's signatures to disallow A to refuse this claim and settle the dispute. This is the principle of non-repudiation. And there are four chief principles of security. There are two more. Another two, it is one is called as access control, other one is called as availability. Access control means who can access and what. Availability means information should be available in time for everyone. So we can define like this: confidentiality. Confidentiality is the process of preventing disclosure of information to unauthorized individuals or systems. Example, you can give credit card. Confidentially is very necessary. This is one example for loss of confidentiality. In this example, no, A will like to ensure that no one except B gets the envelope, and even if someone else gets it, she does not come to know that the details of the check. This is the principle of the confidentiality. But in this diagram, what I sent the envelope, that is leaked by C. That is, the envelope is observed by C. That means it's a loss of confidentiality. Authenticity. In computing, e-business and information security, it is necessary to ensure that the data, transactions, communications, documents either electronic or physical are genuine. That means they are not being forged or fabricated. Examples are passport, credit card accounts, academic transcripts. This is an example for absence of authentication. So in this example, C forcing as a instead of A original A. Integrity. Integrity means that data cannot be modified or changed without authorization. Example is manual deletion or alteration or creation of important data files, virus infection, employee altering their own salary, website vandalism, pooling fraud. This is one example of loss of integrity. So here in this case now here, assume that there will be they're given the one check, $100, but it is deposited as $1,000 into the C's account instead of B account. In this case, the C will tamper the contents of the check and its amount. That's why there will be a loss in the integrity. Non-repudiation. It is a complex term used to describe the lack of deniability of ownership of a message like a piece of data or transaction. So, for example, proof of an ATM transaction, a stock trade, or an email. This is one example for establishing non-repudiation. Access control. In the access control, there will be two types. One is called as a role management, other one is called as a rule management. What is meant by role management? Role management should be in a user side. Which user can do what? Rule management. This is the resource side. Which resources are accessible and under what circumstances? And access control list is a subset of access control metrics. Availability. So what is meant by availability? The principle of availability states that resources like information should be available to authorized parties at all times. For example, due to the intentional actions of an unauthorized user C, an authorized user A may not be able to contact a server computer B. This would defeat the principle of availability. Such an attack is called as an interruption. This is one example, attack on availability. So in this diagram, because of unauthorized user C, A is the authorized user, but he is not able to contact server computer B. There are OSI network model. In this there will be 7 layers. One is called as application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. OSI security model. In this, authentication, access control, non-repudiation, data integrity, confidentiality, assurance or availability, notarization or signature. Thank you.